Hello.
Sunday.
Yeah, we're back here again. It's a bit muggy today, weather-wise, because we always discuss the weather as we start off.
Oh, it's cold down here. We've had rain, we've had wind, we've had everything. Well, apart from snow. So
no, we've had just hot, just very, very, very warm.
Been okay here. So
yeah,
it'd be nice to have the window open and a lovely cool breeze coming in. And
no, it's very muggy down here. It's been a bit horrible to sleep in, and yeah.
But it's nice. It's cooled down for a day, and it's water in the garden. So
yeah, well, no, we haven't had any rain down here yet, or it's been a bit more windier today, but yeah, it's been very dry.
So how are you?
Okay, after everything, yeah.
Yeah,
there was supposed to be more content on the channel over the weekend and from Friday and that, but what happened on Thursday, I just went, nah, I just got to leave it for a couple of days.
We'll come on to that in a second. So
yeah,
I went with my sons yesterday to Huddersfield Comic Con. That was good fun.
Oh, brilliant!
And it was a lot bigger this year than it was last year.
So brilliant.
So yeah, that was really interesting. There were a lot more stalls, but there was a lot there that was not related to Comic Con. I'm like, yeah, just cashing in on the event, but yeah. So I didn't even spend a lot of money either. I spent less. I went with a £50 budget and spent less than £20.
Oh right, okay.
So
it's always good to go with a budget when you go to Comic Cons because there is a tendency of overspending, which I've done many times.
Yeah.
That
was good fun. Killed a couple of hours at least, and then came home. I was absolutely knackered because obviously the weather yesterday was stifling. So yeah, but apart from that, everything's been fine.
Brilliant.
So news. So we'll get onto your thing after this, Kev. We just got something that has been brought out this week, which I think everybody knows now. So, but it is whatever this is.
It's the Lynch King.
Yeah.
From World of Warcraft. Just to give you a little bit, he wasn't in the main World of Warcraft. He was like the boss in the first expansion that they did. I think it was 2003. 2003, 2004 it came out, the expansion. And he's the main boss in that, basically.
Okay, so you can start from £1.95 for issues 1 and 2. Get a free cap if you subscribe today. That's an incentive. And then a little bit on the Lich King, which is leading his powerful army of the undead. The Lich King is a master of Scourge, made famous by the tragic fate of Arthas, is that?
Yeah.
Menthil. He rules the lands of North End from the Frozen Throne atop Icecrown Citadel and is armed with his cursed rune sword, Frostmoor. Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I have no clue what this is. I wouldn't even. Yeah.
It'd be interesting. I mean, it looks really good. It's one that I might end up doing later on, sort of thing. It'd be interesting to see how popular this is going to be.
Yeah.
Because it's to do with a video game, so I'm not too sure, but so I hope it does really well. But it looks really good. I've got to say, it looks really cool.
So specifications are 60 centimeters tall, articulated arms, hands, and head, highly detailed armor and Frostmourne sword, ABS metal and quality synthetic leather, LED effects, easy step-by-step assembly, and an editorial magazine that dives deep into the World of Warcraft game, history, characters, lore, and more. So there's your specifications. So, and then we can have a look at some different angles. And there we go.
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, so I've got a few pictures.
Yeah, if you ever remember playing around the game at this time, it was quite a big deal. This was so.
Yeah, so the sword lights up.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, it does look nice. Looks some nice detailing, but I
It
haven't got
looks really good.
I haven't got a clue what I'm on about.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be like I said, it's going to be interesting if it pulls in sort of a different crowd.
Yeah.
Because of it being with games, and it's obviously their first flurry into a gaming character.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So there's your content that comes in the magazine. And then there is a short video, I believe, on it. Oh, no, it's just a picture. And then free gift if you subscribe through PayPal. And then the free gifts are a pen, a desk mat, which is new.
Yep.
A mug and 3 posters.
Yeah, the desk mat is probably because of it being a PC game.
Yeah.
They probably threw something in there like that for it.
Yeah. And then obviously all the bits underneath about how you're going to get it. It is complete in 115 stages.
Same as Optimus Prime.
Yeah, and you will get slip cases as well. So, but so yeah, that's now I've noticed again the premium base looks very similar to the Optimus Prime premium base, the Darth Vader premium base, and now this. So I wonder if they're customizing this for each build as a premium base.
Yeah, I would imagine so. It would keep costs down, I think, doing that.
So there we go. So just that tonight.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one to watch. I would love to build it, but I think at the moment I've got enough on at the moment, so it may be one that I end up doing later on. I don't know.
Okay, so that's that, and then well, this is well, I didn't build it, but
well, there's also one other bit of information that came out. So if you're in the US. And I think it was sent out mainly for the Star Trek ships. So mainly for the Star Trek ships that we've been getting. There was a message sent out from Fanhome saying due to the tariffs in the US, there would be an additional cost of $5 on top of what you already pay.
Yeah.
I would imagine that may be the case for other builds as well.
Right.
Now, obviously, with the Star Trek ships, it's $5 on just one ship, so you have to add an extra $5 on top.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would work with the Partworks, whether they just add a total to it, or whether they add it on each issue. I don't know, but I would imagine we're going to see a similar thing for the other Partworks as well.
No, that's sad, but I think it screwed people in America, to be honest with you. But
yeah, so it's a 30% tariff on that. So at the moment, I only saw the email for the Star Trek ships. But like I said, I would imagine that sort of tariff will happen with other builds. Ones that haven't come out in the US yet will probably have that built in when they get released. So,
all right. And then, oh God, we did 10 minutes without talking about the Tumblr.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not much more. You know, you've seen. Hopefully, you've seen the video. But yeah, basically the roof mechanism. We've been umming and ahhing about it actually since we got near that stage, and over the next, I would say 7 or 8 stages, we were contemplating whether it would work or not, and it didn't. Now, I did post a video, and I wanted to make the video basically as honest as I could. I mean, there's obviously going to be other people that will get their last parts and then not put out the video for a while to try and get it fixed. But I want to give you my experience as I do it when I get the part. That's why I do the videos like that as they come. And it didn't work. I spent as I said on the video, I spent a good 2 or 3 hours trying to fix it, putting all the wires in the different location, all that sort of stuff. It didn't work. I obviously, after I posted it online, I was let's say inundated with messages saying basically within the first hour of the video going out, I had 6 messages, people from the UK and from Italy, saying that they had the exact same problem. Now, I did say on the video, and it has come out, that some people have managed to get it working, which is brilliant. Some people have sort of got it working, so either the windshield moves or the vertical lift move, but nothing else does. And there's also been people like myself where the whole thing just didn't work. But by going by the messages, I would say there's a higher percentage of people where it hasn't worked. Over the percent. And just before we come on tonight, we were saying that it was very similar to the Spitfire, where about 90% of people couldn't get it to work, but there was a small number of people that were managed to get the landing gear working on it. And there was a few solutions that they came up with, but none of them actually worked. It'd be interesting to see what Harshek come up with their solution for this. I don't know, but
is it going to be one of them that if you're behind on the build or you're building this, say, a year down the line, that you could probably take caution, a bit like the DeLorean?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you sort of, because I was the only one, it was strange because I collect from the news agents, and normally people post, and there was no post, no videos at all from anyone. So I was sort of the first one to post about it, and I've not actually seen anybody else. I've seen a few videos that people have posted, but no YouTube videos or anything of people finishing it. But yeah, it's sort of, some people have got it to work, and I did say that in the video. I'm almost certain you'd get it to work, but I'm 100% certain if it was reversed and I was, say, on issue 60 or issue 50 and I saw my video, I would be checking it. I would be making sure that worked. I'll be making little adjustments here and there if need be. All you can do is follow the instructions in the magazine. And even following the instruction, it's totally bonkers. It tells you to break something if it's not in the right position. It tells you to bend it and snap it into position. And I'm thinking, so there's 2 things for that. So firstly, why are we breaking something? And secondly, why haven't they instructed us to do it properly the first time to prevent that? So it is what it is. It's a really cool model. It looks really good. It's just that final execution, though it has been plagued with problems sort of right from the start. Really, we had problems with the steering and with the ailerons, the spoilers. So we should have seen the writing on the wall then, but it is what it is. What can you do? That build's been like pulling teeth all the way through. It has felt like that in some stages. If it's one of those builds, I think it's got its problems, but looks good. Despite what happened with other builds, so we've been talking about the Spitfire. So despite the problem with the landing gear, the Spitfire actually looks like the part, right? And the 90% of it actually works, and everything else. It's almost like the tumbler. There was the problems with the ailerons and spoilers, but they do work. The steering was sorted out at the end, but does work, and everything else works in it. The sound effects, the lighting. It's just that last bit. And funny enough, we were talking about it on the last video. Do you remember we were saying, the part's going to come. We're going to see the roof go up and down, and then we'll never push it again. It will sit on a shelf for display.
Yeah,
and
I know, but you should be getting what they advertise.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a feature of what we were sold, and it hasn't worked.
Yeah. So I honestly think if a bit like what we said about the Eddie Stobart, the promotional information said that there was lights in that trailer. There was no lights in that trailer at the end.
No.
So it's mis-selling.
Yeah, they done that, like I said, on the Eddie Stobart. We've had we had the same thing with the Spitfire. There's a trend going on here, and they're all with Hachette, and I don't want to sort of be ill with them because they have done some really good models: Bismarck, Titanic, the U96. So they are good builds at the end of the day, but on some of them they just haven't quite hit the mark.
Yeah.
And like you said, the trailer issue with the Eddie Stobart, that was brought up. Actually, someone brought that up, and I forgot about that. But yeah, it was advertised that it would have trailer lights working, but obviously that didn't happen. That was also a bit like the Route Master as well. Do you remember it's supposed to, on the front of the magazine and all the promotional material, it had the little lamp where the engine sits on. Do you remember? Yeah. And it never came. It never worked because the wire wasn't there. But on the promotional material and even on the magazines, it was lit.
Yeah.
But it was never actually lit on the main model.
But I actually think that was down to the photograph of it. So the light bouncing back on the reflection part.
But if
you remember, Fleetwood J, he came up with a fix for it.
He did indeed, yeah.
So, yeah. So maybe there is something there you just don't know. Yeah,
I got a PK meter and I made sure that the power was going where it was supposed to, and I was checking all the thing, and there was power running through it. It's just there is something that's not. We don't know whether or not it's. Well, I still think it's a limiter switch, and it's in that center column because there's 2 limiter switches in that center column that registers when it goes up and down.
Yeah.
And I also know from building it that the limiter switches can stick.
Yeah.
And they do stick on other models as well, by the way. So if you come across any limiter switches, it's always good to keep checking them because they can stick. And I'm wondering whether it's stuck. But to get to anything in that central column, you would have to basically disassemble the whole thing because it's in the middle. And it's. If I was, like I said, if it was reversed and I saw that video and I was on issue 50, then I'll be double checking everything literally the whole way through. So hopefully my video has helped other people who aren't at that stage sort of come up with a solution that they can work it. So
not a good week for the tumbler.
No. and for it to and the problem as well is when I think they've left it to the last issue. And it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, we'll move on.
Okay, well, we'll see what chat is up to.
Yes.
We've had quite a bit coming actually. So 6:17 p.m. yesterday, we got D with a good evening, Mark and Kev. So good evening, D.
Good evening, D.
Then we've got Flip Dip who says, just received my final 4 tumbler. All I can say is the roof, best work or Hachette best come up with the solution that doesn't involve snapping bits off with a screwdriver.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is going to be a solution. Now, there's also videos out as well where people are saying that it does work. So Hachette can't turn around and say it doesn't work because they've got theirs to work. So we'll see what happens. We'll just see what happens with
that. We've got Steve131 yesterday saying evening all.
Evening.
And then we've got Kevin and Mary, evening everyone from sunny Wales.
Lovely.
And then at 10 to 11 last night, I put in, good evening everybody. You are all a bit early though. LOL.
Yeah.
So
a little bit.
I might thought I'd put it in there.
Yeah.
And then today we've got Steve131 who says at Mark's Mods afternoon. Then tonight we have David Phillips who says evening all. So good evening, David. Welcome.
Hi, David. Welcome.
And then we've got Dave Matt Bills who says good evening, Mark and Kev. Have a great stream tonight. So good evening, Dave Mac.
Cheers, Dave.
And then Ian's World of Models says evening, Mark and Kev. It's been a warm one, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really muggy in here at the minute.
I'm just pleased it's cooled down today because, yeah. And you've got to remember to keep hydrated as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So lots of fluids. We've got Stephen Haynes Models in who says, hi, Mark and Kev. So good evening, Stephen. Welcome.
Stephen, welcome.
And we've got David Hawley who says, a very good evening, both Kevin, Mark, and everyone. That time of the week again. I think we will have a lot to discuss tonight, namely the tumbler and the problems with it right at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy Carroll says, happy Sunday, guys. Mark and Kev, hope you guys had a great week. Hello to all in chat. Just like, subscribe, and hit the notifications tab as well. Yes, please. Yep. And then we've got James Alexander who says, evening all. So good evening, James.
Hi, James.
Welcome. Then we've got Sonic Boom who says, evening, everyone. Good evening, Sonic Boom.
Evening, Sonic Boom. Welcome.
And then we've got David Bassett who says, good evening, Mark and Kev. Hot and muggy in Aylesbury too. No rain.
Yep, no rain here. And yeah, it's really muggy.
And then David Bassett says, congrats to Kev and Kirsty winning the quiz in Aylesbury.
Yeah, it was a constellation prize, I would say, after the disaster of the tumbler that morning. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I drowned my sorrows, I should say.
David Bassett says, Wayne said it was from the third expansion, Kev. I know absolutely about World of Warcraft. I thought it was a model of Sauron from Lord of the Rings, LOL.
Yeah. Oh, it was the third expansion. Do you know what? I knew it was from an expansion, but it was a long time ago, 2003, 4. It was a long time ago. Yeah.
No.
I was out partying and stuff like that, so there was a lot. It was a very blurry time.
Steve131 says, evening all. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, Steve.
And Demat Bill says, got a message from Peter Webster earlier. He wants me to build his Apache helicopter for him. I'm looking forward to doing that build. There's a lot
lovely
on that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
And then D says, easy step-by-step assembly. Most builds say similar, but never are.
No.
We've got JC Bricks and Builds in who says the Lich King was brought out in the second expansion, Wrath of the Lich King, in 2008.
Was it? You know what? It probably might be. I remember playing it, and I remember the Lich King, but yeah, you know what it's like when you start having kids and work and everything else. You kind of go, oh yeah, you remember them, and then the dates and stuff, it just all merges.
I mean, I remember when I used to watch soaps on TV. What was that? 3 hours every evening. Not bad on the head when the kids were about. I think the eldest was 5. I thought, yeah, I'm not wasting 3 hours of my evening watching TV, just watching rubbish. So that's when I started building things.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it was an expansion because I remember it coming out. But yeah, the early 2000s for me were very blurry. Let's put it that way.
Early 2000s were going out with little money and trying to get drunk, and yeah. So yeah,
brilliant times, good times.
We've got Amber M in who says, hi all, happy Sunday. Hi Amber M, welcome.
Hi, Amber.
And then David Bassett says, I have no idea about World of Warcraft. Wayne says the Lich King is from the third expansion. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Then David Bassett says, I thought it was a model of Lord Sauron from Lord of the Rings at first, LOL.
Well, there was one tested, so there may be one coming out. I don't know.
Yeah. We've got Will's Workshop in who says, evening all, late on parade tonight. Don't worry, Will.
Don't worry, Will.
And then Steve131 says, gotta go, homework, bye. Oh, no, Steve. Good.
That's
Have
okay,
a good
Steve.
evening.
Have a good evening.
Yeah. Then we've got Paul Jordan in who says, "Hi, Mark and Kev, and all in chat." So, good evening, Paul. Welcome.
Hi, Paul.
I hope the video helped you as well.
Yeah.
He wanted a video of how the power mod works on the Millennium Falcon.
Ah, right. Okay.
It's so busy this weekend, though. Like yesterday, we were out at Comic-Con and
yeah,
so busy. We've got Eric Lawton who says, "Hi, Mark and Kev. Eric from Ottawa, Canada. It's Sunday here. Heat wave this Sunday. Kevin Hurd had big problem with the tumbler and the roof doesn't work at, headaches. So good evening, Eric.
Yeah, evening, Eric. Yeah, it was a bit of a headache. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we've got Steve Edmonds in saying hello all. So hello, Steve. Welcome.
Welcome, Steve.
And then Eric says, "That's crazy, adding more taxes." Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not good. The thing about it is it's going to cost the citizens more, really.
Well, that's what a tax does. That's what tariffs do. So
yeah.
It's understanding it.
Oh, and Paul Jordan says, "Thank you, Mark, for the video for the Falcon part for the power supply. It's fine.
Brilliant.
It's very hard to find it if you haven't built the model in a long time. It's like a Where's Wally book. Or Where's Waldo. If you haven't built it in a long time, it's really hard to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's very well camouflaged.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of there's a lot of the switches I found on a lot of like early models are all hidden.
Yeah.
They're very well hidden. So yeah.
Yeah. Will's Workshop says, "Sorry about the tumbler, Kev."
No, don't be sorry. It just is what it is.
Well, like you said to me when we talked about it in the week, Kev, the build was from Kirsty, and Kirsty's fully happy with it. She's not bothered that it works.
She's obviously into DC, and she said if they ever did one like that, and I mentioned it on the channel, and then Hachette went and done it. It was always going to be one of her builds anyway. It was always going to be like for her. Yeah. And she said, "Well, I'm not going to display it with it. I'm not. Look, it should work, right? Let's get it out of the way. Yeah, it should work. It should all work." But like we were talking last week, at the end of the day, you sort of play around with it. Yeah. And you stick it on the shelf. It's not going to go up and down all the time. It's not. It even says that this is not a toy, and and all of this sort of stuff. So. Yeah. It would have been one of those things where it would have been cool if it worked. Yeah. And then I probably wouldn't have done it again.
Well, and I said this, let's hope the Dalek doesn't happen to the Dalek because of the
at the moment the Dalek it looks like a pretty solid build, but we haven't done any electrics apart from the ones in the head. Yeah. So and you know what it's like with these Partworks. As soon as they start introducing more electrics, it becomes a lot more complicated. Though I do think it's going to be a little bit like R2-D2. So fingers crossed it's going to be a lot more simpler as it goes forward. So, yeah.
Sonic Boom says, "Have you seen anybody with a working tumbler, Kev?"
I have, yes.
Right.
There's been... we said this as well as we come on tonight, just before we come on, that yes, some people have got it to work, and I did mention that in the video. I did say some people will definitely get it working, right? I just didn't. But by going by the responses, the messages I've got, the messages on Facebook and on Facebook Messenger, and people that have messaged me as well privately to say, it looks like the majority of people haven't got it working or have only got part of it working, so only some of it works, and the people that have got it working perfectly is the majority. It's a very small number, but it looks like the most of us have it doesn't work, though. That was very, like I said when we said at the start, that's very similar to the Spitfire. 95% of people couldn't get it working, though some people did manage to get it working perfectly. So yeah.
Eric Lawton says Canada held the G7 and Donald Trump was here. So
He did indeed, and then he left early.
Yeah. David Bassett says, okay, I've still gutted for you over the tumbler roof. I think I would have cried if it was my model.
It was just what it is. It's not the first time I've got to say it's not the first time I built something and it hasn't worked at the end.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember you saying last week, even if it worked, how much of the cockpit would you have seen?
Well, not only that, it does fold back. You do see a little, you don't see a lot of it, and the wires you can't cable tie or hide the wires because in doing so, it would, as it folds back, it would pull them out.
Yeah.
So when it folds out, if you've seen the videos of people that have built it, all the wires are just there on the passenger seat.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really look very good anyway if it's open, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because they're not hidden. So, but that is it is what it is.
Yeah.
Because of how it folds up onto itself, it can't, because of all the wires are all there as well. And I can see them wires getting snagged anyway, even if it worked perfect. I think if you've done that for a number of times, I think the wires would get snagged at some point.
Eric Lawton says, what did Fanhome say about it? Well, it's Hachette is the tumbler. So...
Yeah, it's Hachette, yeah.
But your problem, Kevin, we've said this in the past, is your contract isn't actually with Hachette because you get this from the news agents.
That's right.
So, yeah, your contract isn't with Hachette.
No, but I have messaged them. I haven't got a response back yet. I don't know. I would imagine I will at some point. I don't know. But, yeah, I haven't got a response at the minute. And if there is a fix, they would have to try and fix that for me as well, even though I get from the news agents. But yeah, remember as well, we've said this many times. Remember Hachette and Agora and Fanhome and D'Agostino, they're all the middleman.
Yeah.
They design it, but they don't actually manufacture it. They don't officially build this thing. They only sell it.
Yeah. They
come up with the idea and then they sell it. That's literally it. So if there is a problem with it, it's to do with the company that effectively builds it.
Yeah.
So yeah, though it's a bit like I said this to Kirsty. I said it's a bit like you buying a Hasbro, like a Star Wars figure from Hasbro, from Tesco's, and then the figure is faulty. Now, is that Tesco's problem or Hasbro's for making a faulty figure?
Hasbro's.
Right. So remember, in that scenario, Fanhome, Hachette, and Agora are Tesco's. So as much as they sell it, they don't actually make it. So it's sort of like, well, they've got to fix it, yes. And just the same with the figure. If it was faulty, Tesco fix that problem by refunding or giving you a new one. But if it's faulty, it's down to the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Which in this case isn't the Partwork companies, it's someone else.
So James Alexander says, I think the Lancaster will go the same route.
Do you know what? Hopefully it doesn't.
Well,
but you can't. I don't think you can turn around these Partworks anymore and say that they will run perfect, smooth, and they will finish at the end. The only thing is, I think with a lot of the other companies is that they tend to find the problem and then do what they can to fix it.
Yeah.
Where for Hachette, I don't think they really did that with the Spitfire. They sort of it was at the end when everyone found out, wasn't it, that it didn't work, that the line snapped. They did supply a new one, but that didn't work either. And then it was just left.
You had to find your own fix.
Yeah. And I know with other companies, when there's been problems, they have done what they can to fix it. But yeah.
Yeah. Philip Wheatley says, hi, Kev. Got the tumbler all working, but the wiring is the problem. Keep snagging and pulling the motor wires out. It's a static model now.
There you go. Literally, I was just talking about that. You're going to catch those wires at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sonic Boom says, I think a lot of these moving gimmick parts on models rarely work, similar to the Robocop leg.
Yeah, it's not just with Partworks. A lot of action figures and Hot Toys, they come with these gimmicks to sell it to us, because I think if otherwise, and you go, oh, it's just a statue model, you tend to go, well, you know, it's. But once they start saying, oh, it's got sound effects and lights, oh, and it moves, you kind of go, oh, yeah, cool, okay. And it's the same with any action figure. It's not just Partworks. But yeah, they are just a gimmick, but most of us have them as statue figure models and stuff, don't they, really?
Well, look at the Alien. That doesn't move very quickly.
No, and look at
when it never had a light up head.
Yeah, and look at the Terminator.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
John's Model Making's in saying, good evening, gents. I have the foot tumbler to finish tomorrow. Fingers crossed. The 66 Batmobile looks great after phase 92. So good evening. Welcome.
Yeah, hi John. Yeah, I've got the big box. I'll probably be doing some of that over the weekend. But yeah, we sort of finished the interior and the engine. We start on all the outer panels. So we've got these big outer panels. They look really nice.
Yeah. We've got Flip Dip who says late to the party. OMG. Don't worry, you're not late.
Don't worry.
Eric Lawton says, me think fan home, lack of design parts for the tumbler. Well, it is Hachette, but yeah. David Hawley says, let's be honest, I said to you, Kev, that I did not think the roof would work. I commented to you about this and it appears I was right. I think this is a technical issue and I think it will be the same. Yeah,
I'm now, because some people have got it working, just like with the Spitfire, I think that they will blame us, the builders, and say it's because we haven't built it right. But then we followed the instructions to the letter.
And they do say they are easy to build, remember?
They do say, and as we know, they also get the instructions wrong.
Yeah.
So, and also as well, where it tells you to snap a bit in the last issue, you kind of think, well, if you told us to fit it the right way, we wouldn't need to.
Yeah.
And you're telling us that, yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping there's a solution, but I'm kind of on that side where Hachette are just going to go and just, yeah. You haven't built it right. I think that's what they're going to say.
David Farley says for everyone. So, yeah, I think it will be the same for everyone. Flip Dip says, I'm not touching mine until Hachette get back to me.
Yeah.
Then Eric says, Hachette should try fix that issue.
Yeah.
Depends if they do. Like I said, they still had the issue with the Spitfire and they said there was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
So, James Alexander says, I think it's down to the micro switches.
Yeah, limit switches.
In issue 40, I noticed the micro switches were sticking when they were screwed down. They worked when I backed off the screw. Yeah, I've had the same problem with them micro switches.
Yeah, the micro switches. I don't. Also, as well, it's very, very easy to screw in those micro switches the wrong way.
Yeah.
And like you said, James, I found that when I screwed them in too much, they stuck. So you unscrew them a little bit so they move. But I'm wondering whether or not once they're sort of sandwiched in between two parts, that they stick again because of the pressure.
Them limit switch, to be honest with you, I think they're so cheaply made. I've seen so many people break them. So many people have the wires coming off the terminals. And I just think they are really poorly made and they really need to up their game if they're going to continue to use them. Especially
in the micro switches. And I'm almost certain that's where those limit switch problems or the micro switches, that's where the problem lies. It's nothing with nothing else because everything else works.
But I just think if you are able to screw something down,
Yeah.
that then is too tight. Well, the plastic they're using on them, it's way too thin. You shouldn't.
Well, not only that, it doesn't tell you at all in the instructions not to screw it fully in.
What do they expect us to do? Get a torque wrench? So you've got a torque in?
Yeah, it doesn't tell you any of that. It just says to screw it all in, and it doesn't tell you how much, or loosen it, or screw it in and then back out once. It doesn't tell you any of that. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
David Hawley says, not fan home, it's Hachette. Eric Lawton says, I think poor designs or plans on some of the issues when shipping. So
maybe.
Flipped It says, sticking screwdrivers in to make things fit isn't the way to go, Hachette. No. Not at all. That is, I think Hachette have let themselves down with that completely. Break it.
Yeah.
Wants to intentionally break something.
Like I said, that sort of tells me that they knew about the problem, but then you kind of, like I said, and I've said it, I'll say it again. It's sort of like, well, if you told us to fit it the right way first time, then we wouldn't need to do that. Which also tells me that you've told us to do something and we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So what else have you done?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Paul Quinn says, hi, Mark and Kev. I still have my last 4 tumbler issues to do yet. So I've been keeping everything crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, Paul, it works. Like I said, some people have got it working. But the vast majority haven't.
James says, also, I had a couple of wires disconnected from the micro switch tags. They looked okay as the heat shrink was holding them on. Well, this is another thing that I've been finding out, where they haven't been properly soldering wires onto these things. They've either been putting heat shrink over them or hot glue.
Yes, and I did say this. So the motor, I noticed, and so did other people as well, the motor on the top that works the windscreen is actually glued. You can see the big hot glue that they've done, obviously, with a glue gun.
Yeah.
And some people were saying that when they investigated, they weren't even soldered on. It looks like they put the wires on and then glue gunned it. So there isn't actually any solder on it.
Yeah. So, crazy.
Yeah,
David Bassett says, the Hachette Routemaster was good, but had some missing features. The near side light didn't have a bulb, and the interior roof was the wrong colour. Should have been sung yellow for 1966.
Yeah.
Flipdead says, I might drop mine from a great height and say it's battle damaged tumbler.
You could do, yeah.
Yeah. D. Harris says, Mark, we always early, of course.
Yeah.
David Wheatley says, hi, oh, no, that's to somebody else. Will's Workshop says, just done the next 11 of the Megazord and the next 6 of the 66 Batmobile. My workshop is a sea of boxes and plastic packaging. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
We've got Kevin and Mary who say, evening all, Mark and Kev. Mary loves Kev waving. So there you go. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Evening, Kevin and Mary.
Evening.
Will's Workshop saying, just hopping over to Kev's channel to hit the like button.
Thank you, Will.
We've got Chef Hawk in who says, evening all. Good evening, Chef Hawk. Welcome.
Hey, Chef Hawk. Welcome. I hope yours work.
Yeah. Chris Crate says, hi, Kevin Mark. Just tried my tumbler roof and it works now. Just had to solder a limit switch. Video coming tomorrow.
Brilliant. At least some of us have got it working.
Yeah. We've got Dylan's Denner Models who says, evening, everyone. Good evening, Dylan.
Hi, Dylan. Welcome.
Steve Edmonds says, I have started testing everything electrical with Mike Lane's Test Circuit Pro. I do the same.
Yeah.
So, Chris K says, did you check your limit switch? I think that's
yes. Well, you can check the ones on the roof, but remember, there's 2 in that center column, which you can't get to. So,
yeah. Eric says, so how that roof works with Hachette build of the tumbler and one by fan home not working. No, the Hachette one, which is the tumbler, isn't working, but the 66, which is fan home, everything seems to be working so far.
Yeah, everything was working perfectly on that.
Yeah. We've got Glenn Needham in, who says, evening Mark and Kev, less said about the tumbler, disappointed with the end result. So,
yes, Glenn, yeah.
James Alexander says, mine worked. I checked everything again before power up due to Kev's video.
Brilliant. That's why I've done the video, really, just to show you. I mean, maybe if I did, you know, I spent hours trying to fix it and I would have fixed it, but you want to see the, you know, what I went through. But yeah, I've been unable to fix it. So
Dave McBill says, for the money you forked out, Kev, everything should be working. Yeah.
It should, yeah.
Yeah. Ian's World Model says, I think you're correct on the tumbler switches being the issue. I do remember on mine, the switches being sticky and to do them up quite loose to keep them free. Fingers crossed mine will work. Yeah.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
We've got Trek Modz in, who says, good evening, gentlemen. Afternoon for me. So good evening, Trek Modz. Welcome.
Trek Modz, welcome.
And we've got Kenneth in, who says, afternoon, Chris and Mark. I didn't know you were called Chris. Kevin, Mark. I'm sitting here watching my favourite YouTube group, who I'm looking up to as mentors and role models. Did you guys pre-order the Fan Home Fast and Furious Toyota Supra? Well, I haven't done any of the other Fast and Furious cars, so no, not for me. No,
I've done the two that I wanted, that we wanted, I should say, me and Kirsty. And yeah I haven't done the Supra now.
Eric Lawton says, I see new Fast and Furious cars coming out. Could be. Yeah.
Could be.
Ian's World of Models says, think quality control is the main issue.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. I think when it's in a controlled environment, I think they work. You know what I mean? It's Yeah.
We've got Go For It Painting in, who says, hello. Hi, Go For It. Welcome.
Go for it.
A lot of people in tonight.
Lovely.
Will's Workshop said, I had problem with the micro switch for Kit's door on the last rebuild. Yes, I've done it more than once. I removed the cable for them.
Yeah.
Ian's World of Models says, I had to drill the door plate hole in the body of the 1966 build as one of them was drilled in the wrong place. Luckily, it was an easy fix.
Ah, brilliant. Okay.
Philip Wheatley says, the micro switches also need to work in order. First one doesn't work, then none work. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Kenneth says, I'm still working on my Agora Goldfinger and the Ferrari 250 and the Fan Home build, the Fast and Furious Skyline and Dodge. Sorry I haven't been on here. I've been doing 10 hours, 5 days a week since January. Don't worry, Kenneth.
Don't worry, Kenneth. No.
Yeah.
Don't
worry. Philip Wheatley says, this is a poor quality issue, not a builder issue, in my opinion. Poor soldering as well.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll see what they come up and say, but
yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, you know, they say these things are easy to build. Well, then we shouldn't have problems at the end for more experienced builders.
Yeah.
We'll be flying through them, really.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a gimmick to get people to come in.
Yes.
Oh, not that one. Okay. I'll try to do these in order. Eric Lawson says, maybe for Switch, have like gaskets so that nothing is sticking. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Those limiter switches are, like you're saying, they've stuck on other builds as well.
You know what? Sometimes I am tempted to change or get my own like limiter switches in.
Yeah.
I can buy them better quality and then just solder on the correct JST connector.
Yeah.
I'm very tempted by doing that. You know, like I always say, the speakers in these models are rubbish. They're cheaply made. you know, should we upgrade to a better speaker and then be a lot better?
Yeah.
So
there's a lot better speakers on the market, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you can get them the same size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ian's World of Model says, yeah, Will, that's good to know. I think that would look a lot better. Eric says maybe they check how all electricity tests before shipping. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they I remember they gave, you know, everything worked because they gave the tumbler electrics all together, if you remember rightly, and then we had to test them all. And they did work. And then we've had to take them apart from the motherboard, screw them in. So yeah.
David Phillips says, Kev, it's finally raining. It is absolutely chucking it down out here. Past.
I don't think it's raining here. I can check the cameras and I can find out, but I don't think it's raining.
Will's Workshop says, I am doing the Supra. The orange looks stunning. It does look nice.
It looks nice, yeah. A lot of the brighter cars sort of popped, didn't they? So
yeah, I'm not a big car builder. That's for me, really. Trek Mod says, oh, that's to Kenneth. Where Kenneth says, when you guys get done with the fan home Megazord build, be careful when you transfer it to the full Megazord, because you can snap the saber-toothed tiger stud behind the head of the saber-toothed tiger.
Ah, good shout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to know that. Thank you.
David Bassett says, hopefully Hachette will finally fix the undercarriage doors on the Lancaster, look at the issues with the propellers not turning, and different build instructions as engines 2, 3, and 4 were issued. Well, watch my Wednesday video on Lancaster, because I completely throw out the instructions and do it my own way.
Right.
Okay. So I do 2 issues on Wednesday of the Lancaster, and I completely throw out the instructions. Well, some bits I do follow, but I completely do it my own way, and it worked.
Brilliant.
So I won't say any more on that, because I'll get complained out off D for spoiling the week's videos.
Yeah.
So, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't spoil it.
Yeah, I'll get complained out. Yeah. First spoiling Wednesday's video. So D actually says, well, the early customary good night, Mark and Kev, until next time. Dave Mac Build says, another excellent stream tonight, guys. So thank you, Dave Mac.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm actually caught up on chat, which is rare.
Yeah, very rare.
Mainly a night of Tumblr.
Yeah, well, it's a big talking point.
Yeah, it has been.
Considering we've had builds from other companies that have done very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, we were saying before we come on that, like, you know, the Eddie Stobart, the Tumbler, obviously, and the Spitfire, they're all from the same company. And yeah, they haven't worked at the end.
No, like I said, the only 2 that have really been impressive with the electrics and worked is the Bismarck, and so far the U96.
Yeah.
So is there something there about German
engineering?
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, there has been builds that we've had ups and downs with. You know, the Enterprise build, the Skyline as well, but those problems are getting sorted. So
yeah,
to leave, it's sort of like, I don't know, really. It's just leaving it right to the end. It's a bit of a, because that roof section didn't need to be left right until the end. We could have had that fitted and tested way before.
That's one thing that if you are building this in the future, you can do. Yeah,
do it right before you get to issue 100, I would say.
Yeah.
Because, you can. You can literally do it right then. There's no need to wait. So, yeah.
Yeah. Right, so I'll just catch up this chat before we go. So, Kenneth says, I snapped my and just left them in Dinozords and just left them on the big base.
Okay.
David Bassett says, looking forward to seeing that, Mark. D says, you're right about spoilers, Mark. LOL. Yeah, he doesn't like spoilers. Eric says, thank you, Mark and Kev. Have a good night. Thank you, Eric.
Cheers, Eric.
David Hawley says, well, we'll let you guys know if my tumbler works. Bye. I won't hold my breath. Good night, guys. Cracking stream again. Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
We've got Mario in who says, hello, greetings from Germany. So, hello,
Hi, Mario.
Welcome. Eric Lawton says, maybe you and Kev visit the show, do it right. Hee hee. Yeah. David Bassett says, as it's coming to the end of the show, tonight's show, great stream, guys. I will wish you guys a good week ahead and say good night to you both and all in chat. So good night, David. Thank you.
Cheers, David. Thank you, mate.
Tretmod says, popped over to like and subscribe. Have a great night, gents. Thank you, Tretmod.
Cheers, Tretmod. Cheers, mate.
Andy Cole says, Kev, Mark, have a great week. Kev, hope you sort your tumbler out. See you guys next Sunday. Good night, all. So, good night, Andy. Will's Workshop says, good night, all. Have a good one. So, good night,
cheers,
Will. Philip Wheatley says, night, all. So, good night, Philip.
Right, Philip.
James Alexander says, good stream, guys. Good night.
Cheers, James.
Ian's Wellermore says, great stream, guys. Catch you all next week.
Cheers, Ian.
Kenneth says, I'm still looking up to you guys. I pre-ordered the Fan Home Fast and Furious Supra.
Lovely. Well done, Kate.
Eric says, take care, Mark and Kev. And
Cheers, Eric.
At that. So,
yeah.
Good night. So, really good stream tonight. Yes, we've had a lot to talk about. And whether these things should work or not work. And I just think we should leave it at that.
Yeah.
For me this week, it's the regular videos and regular days, guys. And thank you everybody for your comments. It's been a bit mad on the comments.
There will be videos on the channel this week, including Saturday and Sunday for this coming week, just to catch up on a few bits because we got a bit behind and I left a few bits behind. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up this week. So
okay, Amber M says have a good night. So you two,
Amber.
And Kevin and Mary say night all. So that is where I'm going to leave the chat. Thank you, everybody, for your chats, as always, and commenting. We'll be back same time, same place next week. I'll just do this last one. Chef Hawk says, cheers for a crappy stream. You're welcome, and good night to you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Leaves me to say, I've been Mark.
I've been Kev.
We'll catch you all next week, guys. Bye.
See you later. Bye.